Hey gang, what's going on? Juan here alongside Keith because the both of us saw the first episode of the WWE Cruiserweight Classic, and we are here to talk about 5 reasons as to why we think the Classic is pretty awesome. And starting it off at number 5, it has got to go down with the commentary team consisting of Daniel Bryan and Mauro Ranallo. Now, you have one guy that's not an over-the-top character with D-Bry. Some people think he's not a great speaker, but I think he works with this. And then Mauro Ranallo, who commentates SmackDown, but also has that MMA background. Keith, how do you like this combo?
Oh my god, it's such a breath of fresh air. The thing that I love most about it is that everything that you need to know about the superstar in the ring at the time, they tell you. They're going in with some blank slate saying, hey, you might not know who this person is. We are going to tell you everything you need to know, and we're going to make you care about that person. Whatever they were doing there, that combination of it was such a breath of fresh air, in my opinion. I loved it.
And I like the combination that Daniel Bryan had wrestled with some of the guys in the past, but then with some he'd go,
it adds an interesting
something's
element.
happening from Chile. Yeah, like he didn't even know where some of the guys...
There's wrestling in Chile?
Yeah, what is the style? And I like that because I think it goes very well with the realistic persona that Daniel Bryan has a lot. And when you combine that with Mauro Ranallo, there's this sense of legitimacy. You have a former WWE champion that was forced to retire, right? This is not somebody that just chose to retire because he was bored. And then with Mauro, you have that experience, that excitement that we haven't really seen that level of excitement from a play-by-play commentator since good old JR Jim Ross.
And they were just so good at building a story together.
Yeah.
From beginning of match to end. It's great.
And now moving on to number 4, the unpredictability of the matches. Now, I know that a lot of our viewers and listeners, you consume New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're familiarized with a lot of these guys, but that doesn't mean that we necessarily are. So it's nice to see that we have a combination of your Kota Ibushi's, your Cedric Alexanders, but you also have other guys that you don't know what's going to happen. So at least as long as you avoid the spoilers, because all of this is pre-taped, you don't really know who's going to win, at least for the most part.
Exactly. Like, I myself did not know the majority of the people that were on that first episode, and I left wanting to see more of every single one of them. Like, Ibushi's great. I knew Ibushi. He's phenomenal. One of the best in the world. But the person that really stuck out to me most was Arya Daivari. Whatever his style was, that whole, like, being a heel, then that knee thing he did was so damn good, and I just want to see more of him. And that goes for every other person on that episode. It's great, just being introduced to all of these new talents.
It really is great. I think with the point of Daivari, you have somebody that seems like he could blend very easily with WWE style in wrestling, but everybody else, you have your high flyers, you have all of these styles, and as Dana Bryan would point out, it's not about one style. Cruiserweight is a weight class, but in that you have high flying, you have all of that. So in the same episode, you have a last ride powerbomb with Kota Ibushi, which is freaking ridiculous.
That's crazy. You don't think about somebody Ibushi's structure and size doing a last ride sit down powerbomb.
And then you have the wrestler from China that some people were not a huge fan of, myself included, but maybe that's part of his charm, right? So you don't know what's going to happen. It's this cocktail of just worldwide talent, and every match is going to be unique simply because of that. Now, moving on at number 3, every tournament participant is made to look legitimate. When you hear the commentary team talk about them, the way that everybody's presented, they have a background, they have a story, they have a purpose, they all want to thrive. You don't feel like, what we talk about them sometimes, a jobber. None of them feel like they are in there just because they needed to fill in 32 slots. It is 32 legitimate participants.
They do such a good job at telling you that these are the 32 best cruiserweights in the world, and every single one of them deserves to be here. Not only do they tell you that, they tell you why they deserve to be here, whether it be they started wrestling in a country, which is crazy, or that they're one of the best in the world in Japan. Everybody feels like they deserve to be there, and everybody performs at that level. They back it up with their actions in the ring.
And you see the sacrifice. One example was the opening match, Grand Metalik versus Alejandro Sayas. Now, Sayas lost like 20 to 30 pounds just days before the tournament. And you can physically see that. And they've even gone out as far as saying, like, yeah, this is real. This is not WWE putting a fake weight class. They are actually getting us a weight in. So you see the sacrifices, and then in one of the later matches, you saw guys the main event match, Shamaluda versus Kota Ibushi, just the clash of the styles. Like, you don't know. I didn't know too much about Shamaluda, but seeing him there, I'm like, man, like, the Samoan dynasty is real. They're all pretty well talented. Yeah, the hope is real, and it is there. And now we move on to number 2, which I think is really what packs this thing together, and that is the presentation. Now, when we talk about independent wrestling, a lot of or if not the major turnoff for people, is the presentation, which WWE can't afford. They've been able to transform Full Sail into the NXT arena all the way to this, from a different ring. I know a different entrance, I should say. I know something that you love is the versus screen type thing they have.
They're so good. It makes you feel like you're in, like, it almost feels like Mortal Kombat in the way where the fight's happening before it even starts. Like, you know, the old Mortal Kombats, where the two sides would come in and then they'd fight, or like they'd like have the fists against each other. They just took that to the extreme, and it's a little thing, but it just adds so much. I can't wait to see everybody's little versus screen.
And even where they say, you know, where they're from. I mean, even with the commentary team, they go as far as to say Mauro Ranallo is from Canada, and then Deanna Bryan's from the USA in the lower third. So they're able to establish a presentation that doesn't just make it look cool, right? But it really sells you with the idea that this is international, all the way from the commentary team to each guy to that, not the versus screen, but the other animation where the guy's just sort of spinning around as they reveal all the information. You go to the WWE.com website and it feels like a competition, which is ironic because we actually got a question in podcast episode number 51 where it was talking about
151.
151. Thank you. Big difference. Where we were talking about, what do you prefer more, the storyline or the wrestling? And we were like, storyline all the way. But with this, it almost makes you question, are we just exposed to one style of wrestling? But here we go. You have such a variety. And with the great presentation, does that motivate you into just wanting a show that's 80 to 90% about wrestling, at least in this tournament-style format?
Exactly. It made me realize that there's a third option that I didn't even know I want, is can a storyline be built strong enough within the match itself through commentary and even just the story of the two people in the ring? Can a story like that be built strong enough for, like, to the point where you don't even need the whole drama of a normal wrestling show?
Yeah.
And I want more of that. That was, if the Cruiserweight Classic becomes a new standard, let it.
And you bring up the standard. The number one thing we think that makes this awesome is that it shows the unlimited potential of the WWE Network. How many times have we talked about in the podcast people dropping the comments that they're tired of the PG show or the traditional format? Here's WWE stripping away almost everything that people make fun of them for in some sort of way and just go, oh, you want Kota Ibushi in WWE? He's in this freaking tournament, and other guys may be signed. You don't know what this can lead to. If this is successful, they can say, oh, we're going from cruiserweight to heavyweights or female tournaments. The possibilities really are endless.
They really are. I mean, the WWE Network has been killing it on the side of the extended programming, like the swerves and the WWE 24, but besides NXT, they've really been lacking on the in-ring stuff outside of the normal, like, Monday Night Raw pay-per-view programming. The Cruiserweight Classic really opens up 1,000 windows. Like, I even found myself after this episode, like, who's going to be in the Heavyweight Classic? Who's going to be in the Women's Classic? There's just so many doors that this can open with outside of WWE talent around the rest of the world. I really, really hope it goes in that direction.
And one thing that I find is really interesting is that this airs after NXT, which is a 1-hour show. Now, myself included, many people have gone, don't expand NXT to 2 hours, which I don't believe they should, but they almost figured out a different thing to do. We're not going to expand to it. We're going to add another show afterwards that is similar enough that if you liked NXT, odds are you may like this. And even for the wrestlers, this is groundbreaking, not just for WWE, because not necessarily everybody that is in the tournament is going to end up being signed, right?
You would think so.
Well, I mean, that may happen. I mean, we don't know. Like, I am curious, and I don't think WWE will reveal this as to numbers, like compare NXT network numbers to this, like from here on out. But even if somebody hypothetically does not get signed, you were just on WWE. They built you up like a mega star. And when you go back in the indie scene, you can have your Drew Galloway type run where you transform yourself. And they also raise the stakes for everybody, because every independent wrestler that's not contractually signed to Lucha Underground or, New Japan or Ring of Honor, they can see themselves as, I have a reason. I have a motivation to try to succeed, because WWE doesn't just have Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. They're going to have these one-off special mega events that I can participate and build the name up for myself.
Every single wrestler in the wrestling world can be a part of the WWE now, even if they're not contractually signed. It's almost like they're taking tryouts and just turning it up to 11. And that's really cool that we get to see that as fans.
Yeah. And how crazy is it that we are talking about all of this? And that is why the moment we saw it, I know that, for example, you're somebody that hasn't watched a lot of non-WWE stuff. And when I told you to check it out, your first comment was like, man, I freaking love this format. And here we are talking about it in the same way that somebody like yourself, maybe Ryan, other people watching this right now are going to watch this and go, oh man, you're opening up the minds for different styles of wrestling, different sizes, different places that we didn't even know had wrestling.
Exactly. As somebody that's lived under that umbrella, I think it's time to step under the umbrella. If that's what the rest of the world is like, all for it.
You just got to go like Patrick Starr and finally get out of that rock and stop playing Pokemon Go, because it's a little too much. Keith. You got to stop with that.
No,
stop.
I can't stop.
Keith,
I can't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop.
Okay, you can't stop. But all of you watching as Keith continues to cry about the experience that he's suffering through in Canada, let us know what are some of your favorite things, or why you think the WWE Cruiserweight Classic is awesome. I'm looking forward to watching more of this. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, join the family. Check out our WWE Draft Special edition of the podcast taking place on July 20th. And we also want to thank everybody that's watched our Daring Young Bob Backlund parody video. It's something we've never done before.
Well done with that. You do a hell of a Bob, Juan.
Kinda. But if you guys want to support us and take it one step further and even get early access or go behind the scenes a little bit with some of the things we do, you can do so by pledging at patreon.com/Byte That. And thank you for everybody that does believe in what it is we do. So until next time, thank you for watching, and we will be back with tons more and Keith crying here on Byte That.